Audience here and distinguished presenters of this session. We are going to talk about nature-based solutions at this afternoon, and a theoretical background, organizational background, implementations, practical ways works will be given to you. We have very diverse presenters for today, starting from different, very global to regional, local, and also constructional building level explanations will be giving at this session. I recommended to our presenters to change the order in the program, starting from the contextual and organizational background first. So we will listen first Simon Rassi. I hope I pronounce your name properly. And he is representing ICLEI as an organization. He took place in many different roles in this organization, organized and give explanations related to the activities of ICLEI. So first I would like to welcome him to the floor and to give his presentation.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I think you have a microphone.
Yeah. Can we have a microphone with a hand, maybe? Yeah.
Microphone. The handheld microphone you have on your hand.
Thank you. That would be easy to speak. Thanks a lot. Okay, so thank you very much for the invitation. I'm really pleased to be there to speak. I have a first question for you in the audience. Who thought that NBS would mean nature-based Simon? No, I'm joking. But my real question to you would be, who already knew about nature-based solutions before joining this session and before joining the session of Paris? So you can raise the hand if you knew the concept already. Okay, so not that much. So I will try to bridge this gap, and after the session you will know everything about NBS. So my name is Simon Rasset. I'm serving at ICLEI Europe. So ICLEI, I don't know if I can change the slide with this. Perfect. So here you can have an overview on how ICLEI, a network of cities, can be very much global. We have about 27 offices worldwide. I'm serving at the ICLEI Europe office. We have some offices in Germany, in Brussels, Belgium, but also Berlin and Freiburg. So we are working on a wide range of topics on sustainability. We are working on mobility, on nature-based solutions, biodiversity, energy, food systems, and so on. So it's very, very wide. So if you are representing a city and you have a specific interest in sustainability topics, for sure, ICLEI, we have experts and team to support you in your work. So here you can see our members. So globally, we have about 2,000 members, and in Europe, about 200. And we are really keen to work also with Turkish partners. We work a lot with Izmir on biodiversity, also with Istanbul. And if you have any questions or interest on the network, there is my glorious colleague Marine here with me, so she will be able to answer all your questions. So now let's dive into how to define nature-based solutions. So here I took the freedom to take the inspiration from the European Commission. So the European Commission is working more and more on this topic, and there is a very comprehensive guidebook on NBS. It gives a definition, examples, policy related to that, and they have made this really great illustration with this like umbrella, because nature-based solutions it's not a very, very new concept. Like we have done NBS in cities for decades and so on, but this umbrella dimension tries to stick together a lot of concepts that were fragmented before. So we have, for example, green and blue infrastructure inside, ecological engineering, and so on. We had some very good examples presented right before from Seoul, from Paris, how to renaturate, how to rewild some areas that were only concrete with nature. So here you can see that nature-based solutions, they are also answering and they are supporting to deliver a lot of ecosystem services. So it's quite a big name, but basically it improves the quality of life, it improves the quality of air, it depollutes a lot. So it has a lot of social, environmental, and economic benefits. So I want also to explain to you how the concept has grown very, very fast and how it entered the global room and negotiations very, very fast. So, for example, everything started in 2008 with the World Bank, quite surprising that it comes from this actor, and they first referred to NBS in 2008. And now we are in 2025, and you can see on this beautiful time frame that I've realized myself, that it has grown very, very fast. With the small yellow stars, you can see the key years where the European Union, the European Commission had taken very strong policies on nature-based solutions. So yeah, but just to give you an idea, in 2008, I was only 8 years old. And now I'm a grown-up, and I'm presenting to you. So you see, it's really going very fast. This year, we had a very important report from the World Health Organization, which really highlights how nature-based solutions are really useful in terms of health. And that's the power of nature-based solutions. It can be broad. Some people say, I don't really understand the term exactly. But in fact, it really connects with a lot of different topics, and it helps to break silos that we can also face in municipalities. And from the European Commission side, the most important regulation was voted last year, the Nature Restoration Regulation, which also connects nature-based solutions with all the net zero land take policies, and which helps to fight against urban sprawling and the destruction of ecosystems and habitats. But I won't go into the details because otherwise you will be very bored, and I don't want that. So, to be a bit more concrete, at ICLEI Europe, we're working on different European projects, and there is room for everyone to join, and also in Turkey as well. So here you can see Network Nature is one of the biggest projects of ICLEI Europe, which also acts as an umbrella of projects. Because we have today about 100 projects in Europe involving every country of the continent and also beyond the European Union. And Network Nature tries to bring them all together. So that's quite a huge task. But it's not only about theory. We are also providing, if you scan the QR code, you can see a lot of resources that could be also helpful for you. We have, for example, NBS facts and figures database. So, for example, if you have some people in your municipality, they say, NBS, that's interesting, but I don't get any money from that, and how do I finance it? And here you can find some useful resources and some answers to your questions. And if we want to go more to the local, national level, we have these hubs of nature-based solutions, so you can see them on this map. We have 9 hubs for now, so you can see Spain, Portugal, France, Italy, and so on. And basically, it gathers NBS practitioners on the ground, and they try to really trickle down the concept and to convince other colleagues of the relevance of the actions that can be done on the ground. So you can see that we don't have a Turkish hub right now. So if you are all interested, you can just join me at the end, and we could reflect on how to to build that or how to make closer relationships. And also, I have been asked by some people yesterday, do you have trainings on NBS? And yes, ICLEI Europe has a platform which is Urban by Nature. So you can see here a very big methodology, which is very, very simple. So basically, my colleagues, they take you by hand for each of these 7 steps, and it helps you to adapt a nature-based solution to your local context. So thanks for your attention. Let's stay in touch. My presentation was a bit more focusing on the theory, but I'm counting on the other speakers to really go into the practice and to give you more on-the-ground examples. Thank you very much.
Very good timing. Now our second speaker is João Diniz from Portugal. He will talk about Cascais city, and he's representing Climate Action Committee of the Cascais city. Yes. Please.
Correct. Thank you. Thank you so much. So first of all, thank you so much for this extremely kind invitation to come to this wonderful event. And let me start by welcoming you to Cascais. So Cascais is a Portuguese city which is stuck between the ocean and a beautiful natural mountain range. It's really nice to get stuck there. If you have a flat tire in your car and you stay there, it's okay. So we have a bit of everything, and we do have a lot of heritage. And this is because, well, we have unique landscape and we have unique culture, and the integration between nature and people formed our identity. Unfortunately, just as everyone around the world is facing, we are already suffering from the climate change impacts in Cascais, and they are quite visible, and you can see them from many occurrences that we are having in our territory. And I will tell you one in particular, which is the small photo of that pebbled beach. Because Cascais is a coastal municipality and very touristic, we have 17 beaches. Unfortunately, by decree, in 2017, we lost officially, by decree, our first beach because it lost sand. So, you know, this is dynamic. Sand comes and goes every single winter, every single summer. But the majority of the situation now, it doesn't have sand. So people stopped going there. And this is how climate change impacts you. You don't really see it coming until it's here. It doesn't add anything new. You will always have floods. You'll always have fires. You will always have heat waves. The big problem is the frequency and intensity that they happen. So just a quick summary, just to tell you how it happens. 2 years ago, I was running in the street. I tripped and fell. And I felt like an old man when I got up. I was like really dizzy, like really hurt, and it was horrible. You've tripped before, right? It happened to you before, and you probably remember. So imagine that instead of me saying, well, I fell 2 years ago and it still hurts, well, I fell last month. And before that, I fell last month again. It's nothing new. We all trip. But if we tripped with that frequency, we would feel that in our bodies. And then you have the vulnerable communities, old people and perhaps children, that if they fell this often, then they will suffer even more. And then your health infrastructures will have even more impacts to treating these people. This is how climate change impacts. Nothing new except for the intensity of things. That's why there's a lot of debate around this. So what are we doing? Well, first of all, we are based in science. And science really does help us to reduce the noise of information. And we know exactly what the climate scenarios are happening. And we are reducing our uncertainty. So because of that, we developed back in 2009, we were one of the first municipalities in Portugal, well, the first and one of the few first in Europe to have a strategic plan for climate change. And then we obviously developed our carbon neutrality roadmap. So this has been updated, and because of that, we went from strategy into action really quickly. And we've done a lot of things that you can see here, from promoting renewable energy solutions, energy efficiency, mobility. For example, our buses in Cascais are free for residents, students, and workers. All you have to do is get one card per year. You pay €7, and then you can ride whatever you want for free to promote public transportation use. We also are using water efficiency technology. We are using art. We are using engagement, working with children. There's a myriad of actions that we've been doing. Actually, we implemented more than 60 on adaptation and more than 20 on mitigation of climate change, so reducing our carbon footprint. So 20 doesn't seem enough, but if one of it is developing a free public transportation system, it's a big one. So we're happy for that. But that's not, doesn't really tell the story of what brings us here, right? So what brings us here are the nature-based solution actions. And this is another photo of Cascais. Quite nice to swim over there and to fish octopus. So if you like octopus, that's the place to go. So first of all, nature-based solutions are, again, nothing new, right? What are they? They are nature-based solutions. Nature has been here before us for many millions of years. So obviously, they have something that we don't have, and we have to reap the benefits of our system, of our natural system and natural environment. So what we're doing is, first of all, nature-based solutions are the basis of our urban development. And I'll tell you why in a bit. Then we have systemic benefits. That means that one nature-based solution, let's say, for example, a green park with native trees, it has plenty of solutions. For example, you can take your children there to play. You can go and admire biodiversity. It has biodiversity that helps the natural system. It can help cool you off in a very hot day. It's more water efficient because if it has native species, you don't need to water as much to keep it green. So there's plenty of solutions for that. And of course, we need then to assess what are the benefits in terms of money and in terms of health benefits for yourself, right? We can have a quantitative and a qualitative approach on it. And finally, we're also trying to get investors and stakeholders to invest in our nature-based solutions. And I'll give you some examples, because if we keep saying nature-based solutions, we never really know what is it then. So, we work with nature-based solutions, firstly, with governance. So what are these nature-based solutions? For example, we have green parks in Cascais, of course, urban green parks that everybody loves. Do you like green parks near your house? Would you like some? Who would like a green park near their house? Not you guys. You don't like trees or green parks. You don't think it would benefit? Okay, look around. Everybody except the shy people raise their hands. So nature-based solutions are compelling for decision makers, right? Ooh, I'm going to do something that helps the climate and at the same time, give something that the citizens really like as a politician, right? So that's a win-win situation. So what you see here is, for example, urban allotments where you can retrieve and learn how to grow your own food, your own vegetables. We have a small microforest which is very water efficient, and it supports, if there's extreme rains, if there's flooding, it absorbs really easily the water, reducing or mitigating the risks of flooding there. We have, for example, the cleaning of riverbeds. So a river, around the river, is a wonderful place for you to have a walk and a wander. While at the same time, if it's clean, then it's more efficient as a sponge area for excess of water in extreme rain. And finally, we do this not as technicians, like I am in my case, but as citizens. So whatever we plan a nature-based solution, we are able to bring the citizens on board and help us to do that. And that's a winning factor over here for nature-based solutions. Let's see some more. What about living? So like I said, whenever you do something that is nature-based solution, you are providing better quality of life for yourselves again. So for example, like I said, the river trail that you see over there, we just cleaned up the river, cleaned everything, made sure that we had flood basins, so if it rains, the water is supposed to be there, and then we added a trail, a small trail, very simple, but it adds another service for the local population of these nature-based solutions. So now you have climate adaptation, risk mitigation, and good quality of life. For example, our green parks, we stopped using, you see on the photo on the left, we don't use very colorful flowers. Why not? Because they use a lot of water. And if there's extreme rain, if there's extreme heat, they will die. They will need more resources for maintenance. And we don't want that. And then finally, for example, another example is our local beaches. This is Guincho Beach. This is exactly where I live. I live right in the back. So if I'm not speaking at conferences, I'm probably in the water getting some waves. or having some coffee in that facility in the corner, that's when we are restoring the dunes. So we could have more green in our coastal area, so reducing coastal erosion. And it's a wonderful place for you to enjoy a lovely walk, as you can see, or a lovely coffee in our environmental center. Just an example. And then one example that I would like to give you, which was on 23rd of February 2021. So in Cascais, we had in 1982, so a long time ago, nearly 43 years ago, we had a flood where it rained, not that much, but it was 127 millimeters of rain per square meter. That's this per square meter, all across the basin. And we had everything destroyed in downtown Cascais, everything. In 2021, we had 91 in 12 hours. So it's the same intensity. And look at what happened. That was the during, so you see the flood basins happening. 6 hours afterwards, that's me in the middle on the trail, and nothing happened. So we reduced a lot of risk with the nature-based solution, which was extremely cheaper and better than the, let's say, the gray solutions, which were considered as a dam. Very expensive, very ugly. And I'll give you an example. I just gave you the qualitative. Let me give you the quantitative. So you see the two maps on the right. On the top map, you can see the risk in buildings and people before our nature-based intervention. On the bottom photo, you can see the risks after, and you can see there's less dark red in it. That means the darker it is, the more risk it has. So let me give you the numbers. We invested roughly 300,000 euros on the nature-based solution here. And the estimated impacts before that were 11 million euros for one flood. 11 million euros. After we invested 300,000 euros, it's reduced to 6 million euros, the risk. That's the impact of nature-based solutions. It's the best cost benefit. And again, you can walk, you can have fun, you can go wherever you are. And we know the numbers because you can see on the left side, we are measuring it with data. And it actually works. It's a scientific evidence for us. So just to conclude, because I'm running a bit off the time, remember that nature-based solutions have cross benefits. I am a technical expert on sustainability and climate action. But my friends over there are experts on sustainability and quality of life. And over there, they are experts in communication or citizen engagement. And one nature-based solution can give us benefits for everyone. And that's exactly what you see there. And so we're improving our quality of life in Cascais, and I hope that sometime you'll be able to visit. Thank you so much.
Diverse background and very successful in her discipline area. As a designer, she's representing Skidmore, Owings and Merrill, sustainability director of the company, and she led the UK's climate policy. Very key documents were prepared under her leadership. I don't spend too much time, but it's it's honorable to have her here too. I give the floor to her.
Thank you so much for that kind introduction, and thank you everyone. It's really an honor to be here. I'm going to sit down, refer to my notes, want to make sure that I can capture the key messages within the time slot that is given to us so that we can have a bit more conversation and help answer any questions you may have afterwards. So I think I just want to actually start by saying I need probably a clicker to advance my slides. I'm going to start by saying actually that it's really important. I cannot advance my slides, but it's... oh, sorry, maybe it's not advancing. It's in sync with what I'm trying to say. Oh. Sorry, okay. It's a pleasure to be here. Starting again. So when we think of cities, we often picture a skyline with roads and bridges and a lot of buildings that are where the visible activities of the human life happens. But what if we pause and think of cities differently? Not as a machine of steel and concrete, such as in the example picture that you see here, but as an ecosystem, like we see in nature. where the nature adapts and regenerates, and it's independent, and also it's interdependent amongst different species of plants and trees and so forth. So what if we start thinking of cities as an ecosystem rather than just the built heavy structure? Because in the nature, and today's the essence topic is the nature-based solutions, every element has a role. And they also come together eventually to bring the harmony to that natural environment. The forests filter air and water. Wetlands absorb flood and sustain life. And even in the desert, with its scarcity, that teaches us how to be resilient, how to conserve, how to thrive. So, but this is what nature is offering, but we're not seeing this. We're not treating the cities in the same way with the same lens as we do nature. Because cities where most of the human activities occur, as I mentioned before, often go against these lessons that nature provides. They consume much more than they give. They are much more fragmented than they're connected. So the question here I wanted to bring to you in this brief conversation today is what it would mean if we were to think of cities like forests. That heal, adapt, and regenerate instead of deplete, instead of extract and consume resources constantly. But I think to even begin with that question, we need to look at nature itself. And Joao and Simon also mentioned this before. We need to learn from the lessons that nature is already offering. Because nature is not just beautiful scenery. It is that, but it's also a library of survival strategies that are honed over billions of years. So there's a lot we can learn that I think we're not tapping enough yet. So let's think of the forest canopy. It regulates heat without any air conditioning. Coral reefs really emerge from tiny communities to build this very healthy and very connected ecosystem where resources are exchanged, where one organism helps another. So there's that independent side of the story. And the soil itself really filters water, stores carbon, nurtures the seeds of tomorrow. From this wisdom comes really an invitation for us to see cities as an ecosystem, not as engines, but as one with nature. Ecosystems that provide shade, really capture water, clean air, and nurture health and invite biodiversity to flourish over years. When we align these principles and patterns, cities can help really stop being extractive machines that they are today. They can all become regenerative landscapes, such as in this example we see here, which is, if I'm not mistaken, the world's largest first urban farm of its kind at the heart of a city, of actually a very deprived area in Michigan, in Detroit, in the U.S. And I think this is not just, we may be talking about really nice concepts and principles here, but none of them are just nice concepts and principles on paper. Many examples we have seen before, and there are many more that I want to share today. But a lot of these solutions, with the lessons learned from nature, are already being applied in cities, many around the world. We see examples of strategies inspired by nature, transforming really urban life and mitigating climate change, restoring biodiversity, and bringing sort of the community together to enhance and elevate the quality of life in those cities. So it's not just about integrating green into the cities to minimize the gray area, but it's about advancing and elevating the human quality of life, which is, I think, at the bottom of we all care. And at SOM, where I've been working for a very long time as the sustainability director, we have had the privilege to some of this thinking and this mindset into our projects all around the world. I would like to share some of the few examples, and this is one of my favorite projects of ours that I unfortunately don't get credit because I did not get a chance to work on this one. But these are some of the examples I want to share to hopefully give inspiration and also guidance that this is already happening. And this is one of the particular projects that I really love because it was about participatory design, which was discussed about in the previous session today by Paul Lecrat, where people actually design the space together with nature and with the community and the municipality locally. This project is called Wild Mile. It's in Chicago, in New York, in the U.S., where we have transformed a stretch of industrial river, a very abandoned and depleted part of the town, into this extraordinary pedestrian walks. And this is a floating ecological park that reintroduces wetlands and also fish habitats and native vegetation back into the heart of the city. So it's really revitalizing this area that is once forgotten and abandoned. And the Riven, which was once an open water, but that was open to sewer system, unfortunately, begins now to act again like an ecosystem, natural ecosystem it was. It really filters water, it provides this habitat that I mentioned before, but most importantly, it really elevates the quality of life for that community that is specifically living within that area of the river. And this project, I think, shows us really that even in the most engineering solutions, and this is an engineering solution to a certain extent, can enable the nature to return back to life and bring resilience and also beauty to the area that is so relevant and important for our well-being. And now let's just shift from this beautiful sort of urban intervention at the natural water edge to the restoration and to creation of an environment. And to the Arabian desert. I actually want to take you to Amman, where we have designed, and this is currently under being construction, one of the world's largest and boldest, I would say, master plan projects, where a new community and new city is emerging. And at the heart of the question when we took this project as a task was, how can this new city be conceived from scratch? There was nothing in here. How can we conceive the city not in opposition to the environment, but in harmony and in collaboration with the natural landscape and geography it offers? So it is very much shaped by the natural landscape. Yes, there are buildings. Yes, there are gray areas, but they are blending well with the nature and respect the nature. The project really is designed to embrace the wadis that the natural land offered, where the natural water courses already still flow, so we have not stopped that natural flow of ecosystem and life, where there are these green corridors created to enable humans to interact with nature much more strategically and intentionally. And these wadis also capture the heavy rainfalls in the example that we've seen that Joao was showing before. So it brings that resilience to that environment while still enabling built environment to take place, the built and sort of hardscapes to exist. And now I want to take you from this beautiful desert scenery to a very urban area of London. And to a single building. I wanted to show you different examples of different scales and opportunities of intervention of bringing nature in harmony with the built and the human life. This is one of our, I guess I'm biased, but I would say one of our most beautiful projects in London. It's called the Manhattan Loft Gardens, or also known as the Stratford. It is a residential building, and it really has reimagined what it means to bring gardens into the sky and sort of engage it within the building occupants. It's a reminder that every place really contains this DNA of survival and of harmony with the nature. And here in this example, we explored how high density, which is a very highly densely occupied building, can bring biodiversity and can enhance existing biodiversity in this vertical dimension that you see here. There are 3 sky gardens, as we call them, that are sprinkled across the building at different heights, where the community comes together. And this was the first of its kind project where we challenged the norms. So as architects, we are in London, at least according to the local regulations, in any residential building, we're required to produce a balcony or create a balcony to any residential unit. So every apartment needs to have a balcony for for residents of those units to occupy, to engage with the outdoor environments and to perhaps provide some greenery. But we said that actually is contradictory in a building like this, in a scaled building like this. It's contradictory to bringing the community together, because it's great, yes, everyone can have balconies, but they will be in isolation, sitting in their own balconies and really not interacting together. And what we want to do is break that sort of boundaries and bring everyone together in these communal gardens. So these are all very freely accessible, beautiful gardens that all the community members can come together within this building to interact, to enjoy nature, and we can offer many more sort of diverse plant species and so forth to be able to elevate the local diversity. So I wanted to just perhaps conclude by giving some of these beautiful examples that I think you probably won't believe this is on the 30th or 40th story of a building up in the sky, but it is possible to bring nature even in challenging conditions such as this one, where the land may not offer the area, but the built environment and the building itself can be used as a tool to integrate nature into the planning. So I wanted to thank you all for listening. We'll be more than happy to help answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
I would like to thank all presenters, and also they were very good in timing. So we have quite good time for discussing and discussions and questions. I would like to look at the audience first, if anyone would like to raise any question or comment. Yes, there's one. At the behind, please, would you? She's coming. Please give your name first, your institution, and then your question.
Hello. Benim sorum Mr. Deniz'e olacak. Konuşmasında İngilizce olarak konuşamayacağım. İnşallah çevirisini yapıyorlardır.
Sorun değil.
Mr. Deniz'e şunu soracağım. Aslında ben bütün konuşmacılarda şunu yakaladım. Doğa temelli çözümlerde kurakçıl peyzaj yaklaşımına vurguları çok fazla yakaladım ben. Özellikle Mr. Deniz'de Portekiz'in bir yaşam alanı, bir merkezi herhalde diye düşünüyorum şehri. Evet. Orada kurakçıl peyzajın 3 temel vurgusunu kendisinde yakaladım. Bir tanesi yerel türlerin kullanımına vurgu yaptı. Yani bölgeye özgü spesifik türlerin, doğal türlerin kullanılması. Bunu akabinde gerçekleşen finans kolaylığı. Çünkü yerel türleri kullanırsak aynı zamanda finans açısından da zorlanmayız. Çünkü ithal bitki temin etmemiş oluruz. Üçüncü yaklaşımı da şöyle gördüm. Özellikle renkli çiçekler bize zarar veriyor dedi. Evet, biz de bunu İstanbul Büyükşehir Belediyesi Ağaç ve Peyzaj AŞ'denim ben. Ziraat mühendisiyim. Özellikle mevsimlik çiçekleri yazlık ve kışlık olarak yeşil alan uygulamalarımızda kullanıyoruz. Böyle olduğu zaman da hakikaten daha fazla su tüketimine sebep oluyoruz. O yüzden zannediyorum kendisi de orayı yakaladı. Ben en azından 7 temel ilkesinden 3 temel ilkeyi konuşmasında özellikle vurguladığını ve şehirlerine bunu adapte ettiklerini yakaladım. Bir de ben aslına bakarsanız ortak olarak tüm konuşmacılarda ve özellikle Mina Hanım'ın son sunumunda şunu yakaladım. Umman örneği mi demişti en son? Umman, evet. Hatta görsellerde aldım. Orada şunu, yani bizim daha doğrusu en büyük handikapımız İstanbul gibi bence çok büyük nüfusa sahip bir şehirde yaşıyor olmamız. Yani her şeyi sıfırdan dizayn edebilseydik biz bunun çok daha alasını yapardık. Çünkü biz zaten doğayla iç içe bir medeniyet olduğumuz için yani biz bunu asla es geçmezdik. Ve fakat kalabalığımız çok fazla. O yüzden küçük şehirlerden ve Avrupa'daki özellikle küçük kentlerden çok ciddi anlamda ayrılıyoruz. Çünkü zamanında öngörülememiş veya göz yumulmuş çarpıklıklarımız çok fazla. Konut yerleşimi konusunda, yani konut alanları konusunda. O yüzden bazı yanlışları çok çabuk bir şekilde düzeltemiyoruz. Keşke Mina Hanım'ın sunumundaki gibi şeyleri en baştan yapabilseydik. Çok teşekkür ederim. Ben güzel şeyler yakaladım. Çok sağ olun.
Soru yok herhalde ama yorum.
Çok
evet.
teşekkürler.
Yani sorum kurakçıl peyzaja yaklaşımları ben doğru mu yakaladım ve daha buna eklemek istediği şeyler var mı? Mr. Deniz'in.
Ben Mr. Deniz'e vereceğim. Sadece söylemek istiyorum. Çok teşekkür ederim. Bence İstanbul için hala bir umut var.
Evet.
Thank you so much for your question. Allow me to reply in English because I'm not really good at Turkish yet. I can say wine, but I'm not going to try. Well, thank you so much. It's the problems or the challenges that we are facing as technical staff from a city are basically the same. It doesn't matter what type of ecosystem you are managing and if it's a big or small city. The bigger the city, the more the resources. The smaller the city, the smaller the resources. But then we have different types of challenges associated to it. I would have to say that I would challenge you for your unit, your department, to try and organize a small workshop for one very specific case, one area in the city that you would like to see transformed. And you would like to get ideas to it. And you would have to have there different stakeholders and different goals. I would need you to invite, firstly, stakeholders, decision makers, technical staff, residents, and children. Right? Then on the other side, what are you trying to achieve? A green space for everyone to use, a climate resilient space that actually mitigates the impact, or in this case is adapted to the impacts of extreme heat waves and everything, and at the same time a space that is efficient on maintenance. Because if it is efficient, the money you spend on it, it will be less. That means you can create another one just like that with the excess of money, and the smaller the maintenance, then you could triple that. Well, eventually, this is roughly said. I would challenge you to do that, and you will see, first of all, everybody will start banging heads with each other, and then you will have a common approach, like the photos that I shared with you, where everybody is actually happy with the final result. So it's really easy if you start your approach. It doesn't matter how the situation in the city is, because that will be the first seed that you will implement. And everybody engaged in it will spread that seed in a very positive way. And I'll give you that challenge. And thank you very much for your comment. Thank you.
Başka sorusu olan var mı acaba? Evet, burada var. Sonra size vereceğim. Mikrofon şurada.
Benim sorum da Mina Hanım'a olacaktı. Teşekkürler öncelikle konuşmanız için. Çok güzeldi. Aslında burada son anlattığınız örnekte gökyüzündeki bu bahçelerden bahsettiniz. Ben de şunu merak ediyorum. Sonuçta burada yaptığınız bahçeler yine de yapay oluyor ve aslında bir inşaatın içerisinde bulunuyorlar. Buradaki bitki seçimlerini ve oradaki ekolojik dengeyi nasıl gözettiğinizi merak ettim. Bu yüzden de sormak istedim.
Çok teşekkür ederim. Evet, gerçekten o çok uzun süreli bir çalışmaydı bizim için. Çünkü biz sadece gökyüzünde bahçeler yaratalım ve hani güzel gözüken bitkiler koyalım değil, ama aynı zamanda da oradaki ekosisteme nasıl daha da çok katkıda bulunabiliriz ve uzun vadede o doğayı nasıl daha yaşanılır ve uzun vadeli hale getirebiliriz düşünerek seçtik aslında oradaki. Ben açıkçası ben peyzaj mimarı veya bitki uzmanı olmadığım için bu projede çalışırken arkadaşlarımla beraber bu konularda uzman olan ve gerçekten o yörel bölgenin ihtiyaçlarını daha iyi anlayan, çünkü mesela Londra dediğiniz zaman da Londra'nın her bölgesinde de her bilgi aynı derecede büyümüyor, aynı derecede uzun vadeli yaşayamıyor sağlıklı bir şekilde. O yörenin, o Stratford bölgesinin Londra'nın doğusunda o bölgenin ihtiyacı olan ve o bölgede en verimli veya en sağlıklı şekilde büyüyebilecek bitkiler özellikle seçildi. Tabii bunun dediğiniz gibi seçilen bitkilerde ve gördüğünüz üzere resimlerde de çok büyük ağaçlar, büyük bitkiler de var. O binanın koordinasyonu, toprak kalınlıkları, işte şimdi su kullanımı, o binada o bitkileri hayata tutabilmek için bütün onları aslında tasarımın kolektif bir şekilde, koordine bir şekilde farklı paydaşlarla beraber çok detaylı çalışılması gerekiyordu. Ve bu gerçekten çok emek istenen bir şey. Yani şu anda böyle resimlerde çok güzel bir bahçe yaratılmış gibi gözüküyor ama onun arkasında çok büyük emek var. Ve birçok farklı uzmanın bir araya geldiği, bir sürü workshoplar yaptık, analizler yaptık ve hatta binada kullanılan suyu tekrardan nasıl dönüştürebiliriz ki oradaki bitkilerin suyu ihtiyacını karşılayabiliriz gibi sistemler ürettik. Hani bu aslında bina içinde doğa hakikaten birebir çalışıyor, bir ekosistem olarak çalışıyor. Detaylarını seve seve paylaşmak çok isterim ama teşekkürler güzel sözleriniz için.
Evet. Evet, bir ekleme var herhalde.
Thank you so much also for the question. I would also like to react about the previous question. Istanbul is a huge city, we cannot really compare and so on, which is true and which is also a bit false. I will let you know why. I think when we talk about nature-based solutions, we can be very general at the beginning. Like we say, okay, I'm facing the same problems as Portugal. We have more and more fires during the summertime and so on. We have more and more droughts. So the problems that we are facing are similar. Then the nature-based solutions that help to tackle the problems, when you implement them, they need to be also different because, as you said, and it's really right, we cannot take one nature-based solutions from another country, from another context, and boom, putting in another different context. In the past, it has been done sometimes this way, and then you could have some less successful examples because maybe the tree species that you selected were the wrong ones. So we need also to take this into consideration. Nature-based solutions are both global because they are helping to face the same challenges. But when you implement them, they need to be really tailored specific to the country, to the city, and even to the neighborhood. I would also like to say something that we maybe didn't raise in our presentation, because now we are making you dreaming of nature-based solutions, which is really good. But there is also something that I've learned, that I've heard in another session today. We have been told, think about equality, think about social justice as well. Because there is something which is very simple. When you create a beautiful nature-based solutions, you have these like sponge gardens, you have this beautiful park, and so on. The inhabitants, at the beginning, they can be very skeptical. Then they are very happy. But they are not the only ones to be happy. There are people working on different organizations and so on. For example, I'm thinking about the housing sector. They will think, yes, that's a good NBS. Let's raise the prices of the district. And then you wanted at the beginning to have something accessible for everyone because a park is free. But then if you repeal like the persons with less income, and you put them in other districts with less nature-based solutions, they will face the same problems, but just elsewhere. So that's why when we need to think about nature-based solutions, we need to really break the silos, bring all the departments of the city to really think about, okay, if we put a park there, what could be the impacts? And then how to counter the potential negative impacts. And so, yeah, that's also my 2 cents like this. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And there was another question here.
Does this work? Okay. My name is Duygu Başoğlu, and my question is to everyone, but particularly Mr. Dines, because he mentioned some numbers as well. So I can see that you love your life in Cascais, and it sounds like a good life, and that would be very useful in promoting climate action. I can see how you can really defend your ideas in an environment in a qualitative way. But there's also numbers, and I wonder if you did any previous studies on ecosystem services evaluation, and if you did any monitoring activities. And I think the question would also apply to Mina Hasman's speech, as she mentioned, the improvement of the ecosystem of the mile, increase the impact of the river on some other ecosystem services. So have any of you done any monitoring regarding that and any evaluation in numbers? Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Well, first of all, congratulations to the translator. You're really good. It's really difficult. And how do you say ecosystem in sign language? Yeah, okay, like that. All right. Okay, I knew it. I was doing the other way. No, it's important to learn these things. So, first of all, numbers. Well, we are working with uncertainty with climate action. What exactly will happen in 100 years? Ooh, I don't really know, but I have a tendency. I'll be dead. When? I don't know. That's the uncertainty, right? But we are going with a tendency, and we know exactly where it's going in a very thorough, methodic, multi-stakeholder assessment and methods. So we know exactly where we are going. When it comes to our actions, we are using those scenarios to understand the impacts, right? So we can make an estimation of what exactly will happen in terms of risk. Risk is different from vulnerability. Climate vulnerability is one thing. Risk affects to risk. How much will you lose? Lives, money, resources, right? So that's the big difference. And we can assess that when we have done that. So that's why I say before we have, for example, in our case, the 11 million euros of damage per occurrence. And then we had after the 6 million euros of risk impact. So that reduction is important because climate action, like I said, is transversal. It's systemic. And therefore you get benefits, but financial benefits are always important. And this will actually reply to the first half of your question. I'm a climate action guy. I'm sustainable. I try to look at natural resources, financial resources, and manage them. So basically trying to manage the best way I can in the long term. When I started this project, I came up to my, at the time, municipal director, and I said, we are going to restore the riverbed of Cascais, downtown Cascais, because it will be a wonderful sponge area for extreme flooding. And he was like, wow, that's really okay. Well, put it on the list. All right, and I knew exactly what he meant. And he was right, because this was kind of like an informal meeting. So then I got him in a more formal meeting with more people around it. And I made a pitch. And I can tell you this pitch in 10 seconds. We are going to do the most amazing greenway corridor serving over 30,000 people, GIS assessment, right? 30,000 people that will commute to downtown Cascais, either walking and cycling, while exploring 300 hectares of green natural area along the river. Wow. Where's climate here? There's no climate here, right? Then they bought it. And then I added the little sprinkles of climate, of course. And that's how you sell it. You need numbers. But you also need to have this, let's say, romanticism type of thing. And if you have that all together, you will build a nice case study that will start from the speech all the way into the implementation, which I can imagine it only needs to be successful if it has people around it. And then you'll have good life in Cascais or here in Istanbul. Very good food here and nice people, so I'm happy. Thank you.
I think that's a great comment, and I also wanted to add, data, like narrative matters. How we sell the same story from a different narrative, from a different perspective, really matters. Trying to get others who may not see the immediate benefits come on board on this journey with us. But data matters a lot, because without factual data, it's just nice words on paper. And for example, in the example of the Manhattan Love Gardens or the Wild Mile that I've given, there is data that responds to the day's sort of immediate change. What has happened? For example, the Manhattan Love Gardens has more than 50% of the local biodiversity reintroduced and re-energized, because in that plot of land there was no area to introduce greenery, and when the building came on board it just needed more space to introduce that greenery, and with the Sky Gardens we have been able to increase that. So that's today's numbers though. That's why I want to make a point that it's important. Data is important, but also how we look at data is really important, because things may look good on paper or in measured outcomes today, really good. But in the long run, it's about the 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, 50 years that I think we need to be designing for, that we need to be delivering for. It doesn't matter if it looks good today and if it's just going to die and completely deprive that area from that local biodiversity, for example, down 30, 40 years. That's what we've done, the due diligence of trying to understand what are the right species, not those that are going to bring benefits in the next 5 years, but those that are going to survive and thrive in the next 50 years. Maybe I should just leave it there. Thank you.
And if I can compliment very shortly on the importance of data, that's also precisely what we are trying to do at ICLE Europe with this network nature platform. There is a nature-based solutions database for facts and figures. For example, okay, this area in Cascais has spared X million of euros of the municipality and so on. And everyone can contribute to this platform. So I really invite you, if you have good examples at your level, to go on the Network Nature website and to add your contribution. That would be super helpful for us, but also for everyone working on NBS. Yeah.
Teşekkürler. Başka soru var mı? Evet.
Oh, okay. Okay. Thank you so much. Regarding the NBS, the solution, at first you said it has always been there. I think like even in ancient history, they always used the nature to solve some solutions. I want to ask just an example. If you have any case where you drive the solution from ancient way of dealing with any disaster or any mitigation, if you ever saw this in history or in ancient civilizations in specific areas, how they dealt with it, and we are developing on these solutions. Thank you for this question forever, and thank you for your presentation. So good.
Okay. Yeah, well, we have quite a few, actually. Where I am from in Cascais, we have some vineyards. We really like wine in Portugal. So Cascais has a very fortified sweet wine. It turns out that these vineyards are best held if they are above, so not just from the ground, they are above. And that provides a wonderful shade. And so in some stores that you see, because we are so touristic and the tourist promotion back in the old days and everything, it's people sitting down under those vines and just enjoying a glass of wine or just enjoying a biscuit and everything. So we've developed spaces where we have that. Actually, it was so successful, and I trust it so much, I even did it in my own house. So that's one of the examples that we had. Another one, which actually you shared it, which is urban allotments. Urban allotments are something that, small agriculture areas in cities, they are absolutely wonderful for people to engage, both for health and for, mind, to engage with other people. And those areas are usually extremely successful if in extreme rainfalls to be used as a sponge. And there's nothing really, really destroyed because usually it's intensive rain. So you just keep the rain there for, a few hours. And then when it soaks in, everything will be just as before. So there's plenty of situations like that. But yes, the most intelligent thing you can say, that's a very intelligent question, is you do need to learn from history. And history will tell us how the future will be, right?
I can just add, we don't have immediately projects that is coming to my mind from SO1, but there are many projects in general around the world recently built that are actually embedded into the earth, and because they actually take advantage. So this is not just introduction of greenery or natural elements, but it's taking advantage of nature as a cool or heat conductor, as sort of as means of providing heating and cooling to a building by embedding the building and sinking the building into earth, which we see many examples of in Turkey and many places around the world too. So I think those kind of lessons learned from the vernacular architecture is also what we repeat today and what we see more well married with the nature-based solutions in the traditional sense that we know of, which is introduction of nature into the built environment.
And also, very shortly, I'm thinking about two things here. We are working a lot with universities, with social sciences department that can also engage with history department as well. I'm thinking about something that happened in France on the west coast, which is a really beautiful coast, but that was hit terribly by I don't have the word in English, a hurricane or kind of heavy storm and so on. So it caused a lot of floodings and a lot of problems because some parts of this coast were built up in areas that were then underwater. And so people could not escape these areas. And if we have learned from the ancient, it depends how you interpret ancient. It could be your grandparents as well, or other grandparents before. They knew that this area was not to be built on, and they knew that with this local knowledge, if we have considered it in this urbanism, in these urban plans and so on, the catastrophe would have been really different. And I'm also thinking about a book that could be also inspiring from here ancient civilizations. It's like Jared Diamond, How Societies Collapse and so on. He brings a lot of examples about how very ancient and well-known societies collapsed because they neglected also their environment as well. So yeah, that would be also my recommendation. When you want to implement NBS, consider the local knowledge of the people and try also to really engage with them on the whole process, because they can have very good advices that maybe we have just forgot. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm looking at the audience again. Yes? En arka sıra.
Hello, I'm Ece from Istanbul Water and Sewage Administration. Thank you for the speech. I want to ask questions about the post-implementation of the process. How is the sustainability of nature-based solution ensured after the implementation in urban areas? And my second question is, we know nature-based solutions and urban greening also mean coexisting with parts of nature that people may not want, such as insects, flies, wild animals. Sometimes this can also include species that may carry disease. What is the general approach to this issue? Because as city human, we love plants, but I don't know, we don't love animals as plants we love. Thank you.
Yeah, I can start. That's very interesting because I can answer, I think, the second question. On a past event where I was also invited, we were talking about how to also change our approach on nature-based solutions with regard to some species that we may consider as repelling or disgusting. So there was something, for example, I had my ID, I just lost it. Here I would say the social sciences, they really have a strong role to play. How to see where it comes from, like this apprehension about some species, how we can maybe also change the minds of the people when it's needed, and also how to take into consideration some fears that are also very well grounded. I'm thinking of an NBS in China which was huge. They wanted to build a city which was a forest, but then nobody wanted to join and to live there because of mosquitoes. So it's also something that we need to take into consideration when thinking about a nature-based solution. And also something that was brought in Paris, sometimes with this differentiation of management of green spaces, if you let the green spaces just grow naturally, it will benefit a lot in terms of biodiversity, in terms of insects, bees, etc., with flowers. But then the Parisians, the way, why is it so dirty? I was used to, this grass, beautiful, I can do picnic and so on. And then
without
there is
daisies.
Yes,
without daisies.
Without daisies.
They were I remember.
And so
they were picking,
cleaning
from daisies. Indeed, they are very nice, but.
But there was some resistance. Even my father, it's so dirty, Paris now. But no, it's not really dirty, because nature is not dirt. It's quite the opposite. And so to try to change these opinions, the municipalities also need to work on education aspects, how to explain, how to also not be just on top and say, you just don't understand what NBS is, and to receive these interrogations, this fear from the citizens, and to address them. And so, for example, in some parks you can see, no, this place is not dirty, it's just benefiting the biodiversity. And if you want to have a nice picnic, you can go here or there. And so that's also an effort to consider, like bringing education aspects as well. Do you want to compliment?
Yeah. I have good news for you regarding the first. You cannot do a nature-based solution without considering its maintenance. And the best news is it's usually cheaper than having, let's say, a baseline approach or outdated approach. We always do that. And like I said in my presentation, we can halve the cost of maintenance if you go completely nature-based solution in terms of respecting local biodiversity, using native species and intelligent design. At least half. So that's the good news. I think that the second good news...
Sorry, maybe it's cheaper until, if it is not lost completely. If we lose it completely, then it will be very expensive.
Yes,
yeah.
yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Because that's actually the cost of action versus the cost of inaction. So the cost of inaction is 9 times higher, depends, but usually we use this number, 9 times higher than the cost of action. And so when we do these solutions, they are usually by themselves quite a lot cheaper to do so. And regarding the second part of your solution, I would say that if you use native, if you have intelligent design that really respects the human needs and the ecosystem needs, yeah, okay, she did the ecosystem. If you have the ecosystem needs, you will not have, I would say, 95% of the problems that you mentioned. I have never seen them before, but that's in our landscape, that's in our natural heritage, right? I can imagine, for example, the example you gave, like, a city inside a forest can bring a lot of mosquitoes, let's say in a tropical area. Well, let's do something else then that is actually not as intensive. I'm sure that we will find something out. The worst thing you can get is a highly artificialized city or urban area without respect for these local environment, let's say, resources or heritage. Then you will start to see worse things than mosquitoes. Thank you for the
Thank you.
Could I just add, I think, to what Simon and João had said? I think it's a great sort of observations that you're sharing. Thank you for your questions. I think it's really important that the decisions to introduce and interfere with a nature-based solution in a city should be taken collectively by many of the stakeholders that are going to be impacted by that area. If there is an opportunity to co-design and to co-create this intervention, then I'm sure there are experts experts, subject matter experts and others that can help advise on how to reposition habitats so that we can all exist with even mosquitoes and other insects that we may not like. And I'm usually very scared of insects, so I appreciate your question.
Thank you. I'm not looking at the audience anymore because I asked to the coordinators if we can continue until 1:30, but it's not possible. But I would like to say something too. Indeed, we are living, for the first question came, it reminded me, we are living in a city very unique with its nature. When we talk about nature-based solutions, we look nature, but not only natural design. We are not talking about that. As Mina and João mentioned, the elements of nature in the built environment or in our settlements. Istanbul is a unique example with different ecosystems, different habitats still existing. Still, there is something to do. Therefore, maybe it's not that expensive at the moment. If we start from that point, that is very important for Istanbul. We still have coasts, natural coastline on the northern only. We don't have on the south because it's already built up. We have many lost streams in the urbanized area. We can only hear in the rainy weathers underneath of our roads. Unfortunately, we lost them. But we know the examples like Cheung, which was the first session. Before this meeting, there was a presentation given, a talk about that. There are realities, real examples that can be done in urban environments. Therefore, networking of nature, connection to the nature is still possible. I have a question, indeed. Very good examples are given here. I have a kind of sense, unfortunately, these examples are very little at the moment in cities like Istanbul, very big population. Is there a kind of feeling that you may have or you may not have? I have a feeling like that. Design is using nature connection as a kind of new way of selling. And then it makes this nature connection as a kind of naturizing the design, but it's not a kind of real connection with nature. Do you have a feeling in general, not your cases, but in general in the world, in Istanbul also, you know very better, of course, the city. So do you have a feeling like that? I mean, greenwash, kind of greenizing the design. Is there a kind of risk also at the moment?
I think there is definitely, and thank you for raising that question, not in Istanbul, but many parts around the world, because I think a lot of people believe, and I don't want to give an example because I don't think it would be right, but there's a famous example of a building that has trees on it. And people believe that that's the nature-based solution, and that's the example we should follow, and that's not the right solution. It's a beautiful solution, but it's not the right solution. So it's not about bringing trees or plants into the building is what we're talking about here. It's about making sure that the ecosystems and the different organisms, including ourselves, including plants, including insects, many animals, they coexist, but intelligently, that we need to give space to everyone to grow and to thrive. And I cannot emphasize this enough. It's not about the short-term positive outcomes. We are targeting for the long term. We need to be thinking about the next 100 years, not for the next 10 years. And I think if we approach with that mindset, the solutions that we may be introducing are not going to be temporary and are not going to lead to greenwashing. Maybe I'll just leave it there. I'm sure Joa and Simon.
Just quickly. Grain by grain of sand, you make a whole desert. So it's little by little. I think that a city like Istanbul can definitely start something big and a transformation with nature-based solutions. So I'm looking, for example, at our colleague that made the first question today. She works in the city administration. There is a concept called urban acupuncture, right? Acupuncture, right? So you can start with one needle over there, and then another needle over there, and then suddenly your whole body is being healed, apparently. So the good thing about this is people desire these solutions. They are always welcomed. Like I said in the start of my presentation, everybody wants a green park near their house. Everybody wants a clean river near where they live. Everybody wants to go for a walk on a stroll and surrounded by nature because that's who we are. And despite a big city having big challenges, if you start by defining clear goals and start experimenting at smaller scale, then you'll be upscaling, and then you'll be replicating, and then you'll have some sort of transformation in one neighborhood, then in one area of the city, then in two, and in the whole city. You've seen immense transformations. For example, Chicago that was shown here. I followed up some of those transformations, and they are amazing. And I think you should be trustful, and I think you should definitely have the citizens on your side to do this, and because everybody desires and wishes for these solutions. So, yeah.
And yeah, thanks for raising also the risk of greenwashing, because nature-based solutions at the very beginning, it was super, super broad. And there was no really official or clear definition to say, okay, this is an NBS, this is not. And so we had, for example, very famous cases where you had some private companies, huge companies, using NBS as greenwashing. For example, okay, I'm cutting this amount of primary forest and I'm planting eucalyptus trees because it grows fast. But this is not a nature-based solution because it doesn't benefit biodiversity. Instead, you have destroyed a lot of species. It doesn't benefit either socially the people living around there, because maybe you have also destroyed their means of living and so on. So now we have in the past 10 years, many strong definitions with a lot of criteria developed by the International Union of Conservation of Nature, for example, the European Commission, also the United Nations Assembly of Environment very recently, to try to avoid and to try to avoid this kind of greenwashing. And also what Mina just said is very relevant in my opinion, because in nature-based solutions you can have green roofs in a building. This is NBS. But you can also just let, I don't know, if you have some farming land or if you have a forest, you can also just preserve it. And this is also nature-based solutions. So which one do you choose? It depends. Some cities, they prefer to seal the soil and to build eco-districts. And they can also say, this is NBS. So you see, there is a lot of considerations to take care of to fight against this greenwashing risk, and also to include and to respond to the needs of the people living very close to the areas that need some transformation, or maybe not. Yeah. Thank you.
I would like to thank first the presenters and also to the audience who were participating with their questions. Thank you very much.